Welcome back to the CIB Presidential Seminar Series that we broadcast from Purdue University. And as always, it is indeed my pleasure to welcome our guest today, Professor Dr. Anil Kashyap. So we're in for a treat. So let me give you a brief background about his illustrious career. He's presently the President and Chancellor of NICMAR University, which is located in Pune, India. Dr. Kashyap is a distinguished academic leader. He's a renowned scholar and an expert in built environment research. He currently serves, as I mentioned, as the first president and chancellor of NICMAR University, overseeing its campuses in Pune and Hyderabad and Delhi. With 28 years of experience across practice, academia, and research, both in India and internationally, Dr. Kashyap holds a bachelor's degree in civil engineering with distinction from NIT Kurukshetra, a master's in urban planning from the School of Planning and Architecture in New Delhi, and a PhD from the University of Ulster in UK. He's an alumnus of Harvard University. He's trained in higher education leadership and change management, and is a fellow of the Higher Education Academy in UK. Dr. Kashyap previously held leadership roles at prestigious institutions such as the University of West England, Bristol, Coventry University, and Ulster University. His vision for NICMAR is to establish it as a nationally and internationally recognized institution, preparing industry-ready graduates through specialized education and programs. He's also the current regional director for CIB. So with that brief introduction, let me welcome Professor Anil Kashyap. Please give him a big round of applause. Anil, over to you.
Thank you, Mark, for kind introduction. And firstly, let me thank you and the CIB in particular for sending these early notifications and booking the time in the diary, busy time and all that. But really happy to be back into the discussion with students and faculty of Purdue and globally watching this through Zoom call. Built environment research has been my passion, and that's where I am really delighted to say that in India we have set up the first built environment university of the country, which is NICMAR University, and it is fully it used to be fully postgrad program, focused like any of the other example, maybe from the UK perspective, like Cranfield University, and it's a small university of 2,500 students, and 95% or so are postgrad programs. So that is where I really take pride and delight into establishing the built environment academia as well as research. My own personal research has been around planning and property development. So I had been teaching planning and property development in the UK, in the universities, and leading those programs as well, before I moved to India to set up this university in Pune. So, and today's session is mainly focusing on the built environment in India and its transformation through the research and the academics will be the focus. And I'll bring the participant up to speed that what is happening around Indian built environment sector, and what kind of research areas are being under exploration, some of the case studies where these applications have been done, and then finally just way forward how collaboratively and jointly we can progress the built environment research further. So you would all know and appreciate that India has now become the largest populous country with having urban population, or the built environment, which is more urban built environment, where lots of transformation is happening, is also touching almost 50%, 55% of its population is now urban, and construction built environment sector is such that it is attracting the highest amount of foreign direct investment into the country, as well as it is the second highest employment provider for the country as well, after agriculture. And this is so important sector, and we cannot really ignore the contribution of construction, real estate, infrastructure development into the growth of the country and employment generation, as well as bringing rapid transformation around the cities. Having said that, there are a number of areas which are really get importance in terms of the need for taking care in terms of sustainability, resilience, and inclusivity going forward. And in doing so, there are a number of multifaceted approaches which could be utilized. Say, for example, technology is a key driver. Policy changes are quite important, and the collaborative efforts between various stakeholders to mitigate the negative impact of this transformation, and bringing the urban resilience and improving the quality of life for its citizens. That is where cities are transforming. Even the infrastructure pipeline of the country for building the new infrastructure is also quite large, and quite heavy investment. Budgeted investments are proposed over next almost 15 to 20 years, where by 2047 there are ambitions to have this transformation completely done, and launch India into the next phase of being a more developed nation and a more self-sustained country in the globe. Moving forward, there are a number of technologies, as I said, are the key for driving this transformation. And some of these technologies which we are talking about here in today's seminar is the smart building technologies, which are having the power of Internet of Things, which is impacting on resource management and heavily contributing into sustainability. Some of these real-time monitoring of energy consumption, water uses, building systems, they can enable the efficient resource utilization and optimization, which will lead to significant cost saving and environmental benefit. Just to give a couple of examples, number of buildings done by prominent developers in the country. For example, Godrej is quite a significant player, and in Pune particularly, one Godrej building with smart building technologies is coming, and there is another development which is Earth One in Pune again, is a net zero building, net zero development, and the buildings having all sorts of application of smart technologies and Internet of Things. That is the future. That is the future, and these are being utilized and in practice in number of metro cities, the bigger cities, as far as India is concerned. The other technology which is making this transformation happen is the data analytics and machine learning and artificial intelligence, which is giving intelligence to the users, to the designers, to the construction and in the operation of the buildings. And these technologies would enable the collection and analysis of vast amount of data to optimize building performance through their life cycle and leading to improved energy efficiency, occupant comfort, and the building resilience. And it leads to the same as a common theme, which is more sustainable development. And the third technology, which is again impacting quite a lot, is the digital technologies, collaborative platform, digital tool, digital twins, in construction of the buildings and building information modeling. All that have got quite a lot in terms of the connectivities between the construction stage and the operation stage. So particularly building information modeling, if we take that, the country has got quite large players providing the tools, Bentley, Bexel, Autodesk, and these are being in use. In Pune, particularly where I am tonight here, the metro construction has been utilizing the building information modeling up to level 6, which is looking at sustainability, and then finally in the in the last stage of this application of BIM, where resource efficiencies and optimization is getting built into the projects as well. Sustainable materials and those energy efficient technologies which utilize solar panel, green roof are also integral part of the built environment. Sustainable materials, particularly NICMAR, has got number of research ideas about building materials, and we have got now 3D printer, 3D CP concrete printer is also coming in the campus for utilization for the research. And there are areas, avenues that where researchers are working on sustainable building materials and recycled material, bio-based material, which can be and locally sourced environmental, low environmental impact construction, all that promote the circular economy principles. Technologies like solar, geothermal, green roof, etc., are also contributing towards sustainability. Integrated design, as I said, the entire life cycle of the building from design to demolition, and they are becoming quite popular, and there are modeling tools also available which are globally used. Moving forward, if we see the role of large scale stakeholders, which are government agencies, research institution, private enterprises, and civil society organization, they do play quite a significant role in adoption of these new technologies. And demand is done and made by these stakeholders in order to get a more greener environment, greener built environment. And that's where the role of government agencies in formulation of policies, providing financial incentives, setting up of the sustainability standards, and overseeing number of these implementations that it happens and it sees the day of the light. Research institutions like NICMAR conducting research, developing new use cases, and providing technical expertise for supporting these initiatives. Private enterprise also help in implementing these solutions into their new buildings and adopting these green practices. And also the civil society is quite important, or the stakeholders, also the users, end users, they demand these days these sustainable solutions, So raising awareness, advocating policy changes, and mobilizing community to support these sustainable development. Also, community engagement, if I pick up here number 3, because policy support by government is right there through various directives, but still there is some formulation of, for example, that the 3D printer, the concrete which is used in there has to be certified through the Indian standards, or you call them the codes, basically the concrete codes. So that work is still in progress, and the Bureau of Indian Standard is looking into that. Technological innovation, again, through research, building materials, and achieving, there is a target of net zero emission built environment by 2070 by Government of India, and these will be really handy tools. Private sector investment also playing quite a significant role, because investing into green technologies is being demanded, and that's where a lot of investment is going on. Coming to the research landscape, which was also one strand of this presentation, that sustainability, inclusivity, and technological integration are quite focus area in the research. Sustainability is quite important, as I said, beginning of the presentation. Inclusivity, which means that it is an integration of the societal need, the affordability, the accessibility, and all, so that the accessibility is equitable. And technological integration is because of the IoT, AI, big data. We have got more information, and using this information, one can integrate the solutions in the built environment to improve the efficiency and resilience of our built environment. However, there are number of challenges into this there, but there are opportunities as well. As I said, India has got this huge target mandate by 2070 to achieve net zero built environment, and that's where there is a huge opportunity as well, that institution like us and the professional like you on the other side of the screen are quite significant and will be very key driver in building this story and be part of that. Also, opportunities are for implementation of innovative technologies, attract foreign direct investment, and also create new employment opportunities and adding to the green economy as well. The challenges also, on the other hand, are the financial constraints and some of the regulatory barriers which are still there. Some of the policy paralysis, what we call, in terms of attracting foreign direct investments, or even having I won't say that cheap funds, but the affordable funds by various pension funds, etc., in order to fill the gap between the financial viability of the projects and the delivery of the infrastructure as well in the country. When we come to some of the nitty-gritties, that how some themes can be really helpful in moving this discussion forward, digital construction is actually there to support the speed as well as the efficiency into this one, and that's where the tools are quite important. The BIM, building information modeling, is very important tool for digital construction. One can have the digital twin of the building, can analyze the behavior of the building before even it is constructed using building information modeling, and also design the spaces and really visualize that how it will behave at the end of its construction, which is very significant transformation by the technology. Virtual reality as well, giving immersive experience. Augmented reality is about overlaying digital information onto the real world, and artificial intelligence is providing lots of information and knowledge in predicting the behavior and outcomes. So all those are very significant in the construction research going forward. Also, the artificial intelligence in construction is an area where construction planning and scheduling using AI algorithm to optimize the resource allocation and also give the prediction of project completion, the budgeting, the material uses, and all those number of interventions can be done through through AI. Risk management also is quite a significant area to work into and look into, where artificial intelligence can identify potential hazards and also flag some preventing measures and advance early warning, so that construction sector, which is quite notorious as far as risk management is concerned, will get quite a fillip in managing the risk on the projects. Quality, automated inspection systems which can ensure the compliances, etc., with standards can be built into through the use of AI, because lots of data will be there, and one can benchmark that data and adopt the quality control standards. Cost optimization, to use this historic data and identify some cost saving opportunities. So AI in construction is quite an important dimension and a research area. So having said that, number of technologies which are there are revolutionizing the construction with the help and transforming the construction industry, and it is offering significant opportunities for efficiencies and better management and risk management. Drones, use of drones in construction is not a new thing, but I think it is a must thing these days, because of the applications have become so sophisticated that one can rely on the use of these technologies, and there has been quite significant interventions and strides as far as aerial survey is concerned. So using drone, where with the other technologies, right from the theodolite times and the field measurements, now aerial surveys can be completed for large site and can create a 3D model within a matter of a couple of days, etc. And all those site maps, details for precise planning of the area are available using drones in construction. Inspection and monitoring some of the hard to reach areas and monitoring the project progress using drones. We have got in NICMAR MOU with Yellow Sky. It is a homegrown startup, Yellow Sky, and they do have sophisticated technology for data collection and data interpretation. And we have used them into our campus, drawing the campus map as a test case, and it has got quite fantastic results as well. Samir also worked using Yellow Sky in identification of potholes on the roads and identification of the potholes, the size, the depth, and measurement, and some of the sustainable material can be used, brought in there and precisely poured over those potholes to make the the roads more motorable. Also, the transportation of materials, etc. In some areas, we were talking about swarming the drones. For example, in the far interiors of the projects, particularly infrastructure projects, when we are talking about high-speed rails going through the huge, like heavy vegetation and marshy areas, etc., where the material delivery is quite challenging, and laying of the temporary roads also pose a lot of challenge. And so the days will not be far that when drones can be swarmed, and a cluster of drone can lift a particular payload and deliver it to the site right from the yard. And that's where the revolution is going to happen. Moving on to coming back to the sustainability through digital tool, and it is always pointing towards the sustainability, and we have got the focus of today's talk around sustainability and use of digital tools, digital construction, and bringing the discussion back to sustainability. Energy efficiency through various simulation tools also can be impacted, and that's where data digital transformation can play quite a significant role. Material selection, etc., water management are obviously monitoring of the water quality and all that are quite useful interventions. Artificial intelligence also in decision making, what kind of material optimization based on the environmental impact and the performance can be utilized into sustainable design, energy simulation, etc. AI models can simulate the energy performance within the buildings, and also some of the adaptive design where real-time environmental data can be collected, and useful iteration and the changes could be made into the built environment. Drones, as we said, again, look at the other general applications other than the built environment, like forest cover monitoring and the coastal erosion, which ultimately impact on the low-lying areas of the coast, and sometimes the flooding, etc., happen, and the use of drones in monitoring some of these changes of the environment can be quite useful tool. Finally, this building information modeling, which is one area where NICMAR is quite well known for, can be used for design and planning, collaboration, cost and time optimization, and some of the conflict resolutions when the services are going where there is any conflict into the construction, if and this can be detected quite early on in the design stage itself, and it saves a lot of time and cost. So it goes without saying that BIM has now mainstreamed into the construction projects. However, there has not been any statutory mandate or legal mandate for all those large projects, like in United Kingdom in 2011 onwards. There has been a mandate that building of so much of investment or the size has to have the BIM model created and submitted for the approval. However, this mandate hasn't come as yet, and it should come. But however, the benefits of using BIM are so much that some of these projects itself voluntarily use some sort of building information modeling, although the utilization is quite patchy. And we are promoting with Niti Aayog as NICMAR as a university to make it more regulatory, and so that there is a lot of efficiency saving and cost and efficiencies are saved use of the BIM. We have looked at some other applications as well, IoT. When we talk about sensors, if you if I can give you one sort of real application in compaction of the road subgrade. IoT has been quite useful in collecting the data for construction sites and also managing the resources and improving the efficiency and the safety and security, etc., for alerting workers about the potential hazards. The application of IoT, if look into the heavy machinery, when rolling the road surface and compacting it, there is a useful application of IoT where the dozer having this built in there can automatically go over the surface over a number of times, and all that is getting recorded, and an optimal compaction is achieved, and then whole thing can be really then monitored through use of technology, and there is a less of a human intervention, and even the resource efficiency saving in terms of the manpower as well as the fuel and energy used. 3D printing, as I was talking about, is getting popularized a lot. We have got a couple of sample buildings in Bangalore and IIT Chennai to showcase the use of 3D printing. The post office by L&T has been constructed in a sort of a time frame of, I think, less than 36 or 72 hours. So we are talking of not days, but it is in terms of number of hours. And however, there is a huge scope for standardization of materials, and also how we can put the safety and maybe the insurance part as well is something which we were talking about earlier, that the insurance companies, how they can actually insure those buildings in case of lack of standards and lack of the standard quality of material or the concrete being poured into there. However, there are obvious sustainability and fast pace of construction benefits coming out from there. Other automation in construction is something which we cannot avoid talking, and these days it is real that there are automated plastering and painting devices where the buildings which are high-rise buildings or even the hard to reach areas, the painting and plastering can be done by the robots or even by use of drones as well on the outer facade of the buildings, flying drones with some payload of the paint or even inspection of some of the defects before painting is now a reality. Even in India, I'm sure that some of the developed applications can be found in American or some other context as well. Material handling, transportation, demolition, removing some of the structures, and even looking at the safety and security of the workers, etc. These are now through automations. Data-driven decision making, machine learning, artificial intelligence, we have been talking about this use of data, are important. Finally, the smart building technologies, energy efficiency, environmental control, sustainability, safety, security, they lead to smart buildings and ultimately the energy efficiency and the sustainability of the buildings. The future of the sustainable construction lies into integrated design, where combining sustainability, technology, and society, circular economy, minimizing waste and promotion of resource use, and automation of construction through robots and AI and drones, and smart cities obviously will be the sustainable infrastructure, resilient and livable urban environment, and these applications will be the the future of the built environment, and the research has been quite significant in these areas, and there are scope for more and more applications, and bringing some of mainstreaming these applications. So way forward for Indian built environment is that it is getting transformed so quickly, and we need these solutions as of yesterday in order to have sustainable, resilient, and inclusive future for the citizens. By embracing the digital technologies, promoting sustainable materials, etc., this will be through use of various stakeholders can lead to the sustainable development, sustainable built environment, and creating the thriving, green, equitable, and livable cities as far as our future is concerned. So with that, I will end my presentation, but will be taking some time for any questions that might be from the audience, please.
Thank you, Professor Kashyap. This was a very, very interesting, very exciting presentation. A lot of things seems to be happening in India. So already we have questions coming up. So let me open with Ala. Please go ahead.
Hey, good morning. Thank you for the great presentation. I just had one question. You talked about AI and how it can be utilized in construction. Do you think that AI can substitute some roles in the construction industry regarding the scheduling and cost control and implementing the BIM technologies?
Ala, thank you for interesting question. Yes, I would start with my my response that yes, AI is bound to make the life simpler and easier in processing large data, and it can actually streamline and even expedite the process of planning, scheduling, etc. In collecting a lot of data and integrating that into the system and the software. That's where these building information modeling, BIM, and other tools, they will get a lot of benefit by the artificial intelligence and the data, etc., in order to bring and come up with more accurate solutions. Definitely yes, but I'm not suggesting that it will replace any job, but it will definitely expedite the process, and it will definitely result in more accurate prediction, as well as as well as expediting into the decision making.
Thank you, Ala.
Does that answer? Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else has question? Please raise your hand, open your mic, and ask a question. So while people are still thinking about their question, let me start with some of my questions I had. So you mentioned about the lot of infrastructure development that is happening in India, and and so is happening all around the world. But what we find is that different parts of the world have different financing models for supporting the infrastructure efforts. I was wondering, what is the model that is being utilized in India for financing infrastructure?
Yeah. Interesting question, Mark. Because as I touched in my one of the slide about the the infrastructure attracting quite a lot of foreign direct investment, and the models which and finance is quite a, there is a lot of finance gap, infrastructure funding gap in the country that does exist, and that is where some models have been tested over last decade and a half, or even 2 decades as well, starting with public-private partnerships, PPP, and public-private partnership where government provides some support, where private partners, they bring the know-how and the technology in construction of the infrastructure. These partnerships have been quite successful. And then over the last decade or so, we have got number of models of like build, operate, and transfer, built, BOT, BOTT. These are various models that are part of public-private partnership, where you build, you operate, and then after certain time you transfer, BOT model. Then now, very recently in the recent budget, again there were lots of issues around these public-private partnership models in terms of viability gap, because if the money which has been invested by an investor is not getting collected and having return on investment, then obviously nobody would invest into that. So government has to make this investment more attractive by giving lots of concession or even providing some viability gap funding. So VGF was one of the concepts which was introduced, and then there were a number of other regulatory measures Niti Aayog has introduced into public-private partnership, particularly in road sector. That's one model. The second model is the soft loan from World Bank or Asian Development Bank or Japanese agency organization JICA, or the banks as well. Initially, banks fund at a higher cost, but when the infrastructure is ready, then it can actually repay the bank loan, and then other private equity players or pension funds, they get into the picture. Hyderabad Metro has been onto this model, whereas some metro projects have been onto soft loan from JICA, and so that it depends on the type of the project. So these models are quite prominent as far as infrastructure delivery and procurement is concerned.
Yeah, thanks. That seems to be a use of all different type of model, particularly PPP and the variations thereof. So that's very interesting. And let me see if we have any questions coming from the audience here. Please open your mic and ask question if you have any. Before I jump into my next question, that is. So just as a follow-up to PPP, while people are still thinking about their question, there are a lot of examples where PPP was successful, whereas there are other examples where it was a complete disaster in terms of projection of usage, increase in tariff, and so on. What has been, to your understanding, the experience in India for the various PPP projects that you mentioned?
Yes, indeed. PPP has been criticized. I had published my first report in 2011 on PPP and PFI over 4 continents: US, Europe, India, and Australia. And there has always been a lot of criticism about the value for money when we procure projects on PPP. Government also get criticized that why you pay so much extra in terms of return on investment when government can borrow the money from the agencies because of the credibility of a particular state government or a municipality being there, and it can optimize the use of money as far as infrastructure project is concerned. But there has been argument around the capability of the governments and the kind of technical skill and know-how of those government players to provide a high quality infrastructure. So that's one area. The other area of failure is where the prediction about the return of that particular project goes wrong or goes off the real situation. Sometimes these project reports are built, crafted into air-conditioned offices as well, and somebody doesn't have a reality of the situation. And I can remember and quote a couple of examples where the traffic volume was predicted much higher than what actually it is. And that's where the failure in recovery of the investment comes into question as well. So particularly the project report, how accurately you predict the volume, particularly in case of road projects, or
Right.
the return on investment, or say, for example, in a water supply project, if how many people will be paying the tariff of the water, all that, and how the government incentivization, etc., or some freebies. So those can be carefully built into those projects, and that's where some of these projects have chances of having a more failure than something which has been more due diligence has been done.
So there's an interesting question that just came up on the chat. But Dave, do you want to just open your mic and ask questions?
Yeah.
Dave, go ahead and open your mic.
Yeah. More vertical construction. Okay, so that's okay, Dave. I can read over. You are talking about in US, the built environment is more vertical construction. As the lead rather than civil infrastructure, horizontal construction. Does such distinction occur in India? Right. If I have understood this correctly, yes. We have got in India both instances. There are vertical construction now coming up in metro cities, where the scarcity of land is there and the land has become more costly. So that's where the buildings are more vertical. Whereas lots of infrastructure, which is in terms of road, rail, airport, etc., falls under the category of horizontal construction. There are both kind of the projects, and yes, architecture and construction, obviously it varies from project to projects. Airport projects, for example, have become quite unique in terms of their design and the shape, etc. But the important point here is the constructability of the buildings, which is often forgotten in design and architecture of those interesting projects. So one has to have constructability in mind, so that you can actually optimize the cost and the value for money in such projects. So yes, and civil engineers are more involved into project planning and monitoring the sites, etc. They do keep the projects under control and monitor the progresses, manage the sites, and all those civil engineering applications are as such and as anywhere in the in a large project anywhere in the world. I hope that sort of answered Dave's question here.
I think he was asking a slightly different question, in the sense that, who leads the project in India? I think he's referring to,
Right.
Are architects still leading the project, or is it a contractor? And of course, civil projects are civil engineers, but I think he's referring more to the building projects. So
yes, so the building projects, these days, the project management consultants, or PMCs, are employed, deployed onto large projects, which has got a an independent monitoring, between client and the design, and they act as an advisor to the client. So the project management consultant has become quite an important area for for leading that project, and they will coordinate between the contractor, the architect, the MEP consultant, and the vertical transportation consultant, and the interior and the finishes, etc. So the project management consultant leads that from the client side, whereas from the delivery side, the contractor is an independent entity, but architect also brings a consortium, which includes all the service providers and the design, etc. And it's a team of people who actually work on these building projects, if you are particularly talking about the building projects.
Sorry, I was speaking and my mic was off. So thank you, Dave. That was indeed a good question, and we understand you cannot use your mic, so that's all right. But let me throw in another question as others are thinking. That you mentioned about modularization in your presentation, and the thought occurred to me that what is the acceptance of modularization in India, given that there's no dearth of labor as such, what we are facing in other parts of the world. So, I mean, in the US, we are predicting that by 2030, most of the work will be offsite. And so obviously that leads to modularization, right, from pre-planning concept to how we render the buildings or the project. I was wondering, what is the extent of modularization acceptance in India at the present?
That's very, very interesting question, Mark. And I am looking at some of the images here to share on my desktop here. So if you can see this particular construction, it is happening just about 100 meters or 50 meters from where I am sitting on the campus, and it is happening in NICMAR campus. So we are constructing a 13-story tall building for academic and administration use. And we have now decided at the design stage to use the modular construction. This is all precast. The elements are built into the factory, and they are transported here on the site. And this is how it looks like from the above here. So all these, and this construction is having advantages and disadvantages. Obviously, you said cheap labor. Obviously, this is a little bit more expensive side, but it has got its advantage in erection when there is a busy campus where there are 2,000 students around studying here. Lots of noise of construction and all those things can be avoided, and it is a faster construction. So we can get this 13-story building in next maybe like 4 months time or so. Otherwise, every slab cycle is more than a month or so. And if you look at 13-story, it takes more than a year to construct, whereas we can achieve this construction. And even simultaneously, we can finish the bottom floors with internal finishes, etc., as the construction moves on, because it is dry construction. It is not the wet in terms of curing and all that stuff. So that is how we are taking it up, and we are trying to lead this discussion as an institution, an educator, to showcase that yes, this could be possible. Having said that, there are benefits of on-site construction, cast in situ, because of the labor availability and all. But obviously there are disadvantages in terms of availability of labor, sometimes going for and projects going delayed and all those number of things. So there are benefits and advantages, but this is a real, application which is happening right next to me.
That is very interesting. Let me see again. Okay, audience, questions. I cannot see everybody, but so if you have a question, just open your mic.
Yeah.
Well, so let me throw in another question here. So you touched upon challenges in transforming the built environment to achieve net zero by 2070. How do you foresee? So I'm thinking about the dense built environment in India, and I'm thinking, what are your thoughts on for the existing stock? How can we achieve net zero for the existing stock?
Right. That's very interesting. So pardon me for this noise. The power has just gone and it will come back to the backup as well very quickly. Should come. One second. Okay. Right. Is it annoying? One second. Okay. So one of the UPS has got this buzzer. Right. So this net zero is quite an interesting, and that's where I put it as a challenge in one of my slides. This is an ambitious target, to be honest, but obviously there are scope and opportunities, and given that a lot of digital transformation is happening, so the new stock is obviously getting a lot of attention in terms of new technologies and new, building automation systems, BI, all that getting built into that. The old stock, which is quite a lot, need to really adapt to some of these things. And it is the behavior change to start with, all the stakeholder promoting the use of, sustainable technologies and changing that. But it has been achieved in the electricity sector quite a lot with the introduction of LED lights, the low efficiency, low energy, consumption lights, etc. And it has significantly reduced. Also, this new old stock, I am sure that is getting to be rebuilt, and retrofitting has not been, in the discussion as yet, as far as India is concerned. Retrofitting has not taken up in UK. Retrofitting is quite a significant, aspect of a construction sector, but here it is demolition and building new. And with a very minimum, retrofitting in the old buildings, but obviously getting more and more use of the space and more newer design, etc. will be coming up. So I am not sure. There should be a good market for retrofitting, but not yet. I have come across major even policy decisions or opportunities as far as retrofit is concerned. So yeah, it is a challenge, and it need to be redesigned and rebuilt. I guess that would be the key for that.
Hi. Hello, Jeff Graff here from Purdue. Sort of follow on
Yes.
that in terms of the relation of maybe one of the more specific elements of all that is thinking about, I know there's a prevalence for concrete as the primary material for buildings in India and many other places around the world. And obviously one of the challenges with reaching net zero, achieving those ends, is the relative carbon intensity of cement in particular. And I guess obviously there's that embodied carbon existing in the built environment, in the existing building stock. But in terms of thinking about transitioning into what is to be built yet, what maybe specific efforts have you been working at NICMAR and sort of addressing that element, given that it is such a prevalent material system that's used?
Yeah, very, very pertinent question, Jeff. See, it goes without saying that the concrete is one of the cheapest material available for construction. Even it is cheaper than the wood and all other alternative materials. However, there has been quite a lot of research which is going on, and there is a scope for that as well, for identification and modification of sustainable construction materials, which has got low embodied carbon, which is sourced locally, which has got more thermal properties, etc. So those materials are in at the research stage at the minute. If I say that in India, have not mainstreamed. Most of the construction you would see with the concrete, even not with the timber. So this is another challenge where we are talking about rebuilding and overall embodied energy and net zero. This is a real challenge, that how we can overcome that. Having said that, all the high-rise buildings, they have started using fly ash bricks, which has got like coming from the waste material, locally sourced stone cladding, and some of these sustainable materials and the paints and all those things. So there is now more prevalent as far as the new build is considered. Again, when you talk about sustainability, it is something that you can be a sustainable, you can drive a Tesla, but the energy coming for Tesla is coming from somewhere else, burning the fossil fuel or some other alternative source of energy. So it's a very, very tricky, but I think as the further research into sustainable materials goes, it should be able to replace, and there are people are willing to do that, but you need to provide appropriate options for them.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, stretching that point a little bit further, I think you're touching on some very interesting things here. In terms of, sustainability, around the world, there's a lot of effort in reinvigorating indigenous methods that perhaps over time, might get lost. And in Kenya, for instance, in other parts of Africa. So in India, to my understanding, there are a lot of indigenous methods that have been used in the construction industry that are perhaps more sustainable in many ways. And are you aware of, or is there any work going on that is trying to preserve that and bring those back?
Yeah, indeed, Mark. With the new education policy launched in 2020, government has particularly emphasized on Indian knowledge system, IKS. We call it in abbreviation. IKS is Indian knowledge system, and Indian knowledge system has been powerful in many areas. Not only in construction, but other areas in medicine technologies and artwork and all those things. So construction is also one of the significant part of Indian knowledge system. Still, we can see a number of structures which are built over even 1,000 years. Some of the temple architecture or temple structures, they are built on using the timber, and how that has been preserved. Bamboo has been used in one of the temple in South India, which is again quite remarkable. Over 100 years or 200 year plus, there is nothing lost in terms of strength and the quality and the reliability. So and as a part of curriculum, NICMAR, we are introducing these concepts right from the early stage of the civil engineering and the architecture, and in the construction management as well as part of their curriculum, so that anything which is more sustainable, more long, because in previous time, the old age, era, lot of transportation issues as well. So all those materials were locally sourced and suitable to the environment. And that's where we are making, the graduates aware. And whenever there is an opportunity that can be deployed and used into the design of their construction projects, and they have at least awareness of that. So as far as awareness is concerned, this has been done. Practice is somehow need to be mainstream, and somebody need to come forward and do some, some cases where demonstration can happen, and there is an opportunity for that. I have seen in UK lots of design self-build, exhibition areas are there, where you can go and see the self-build or the use of those materials which are there in that particular region. India has got that opportunity and a scope for showcasing some of these technologies. But knowledge is concerned, it is being provided through some of these courses which are optional, or I think compulsory, I guess, for some of the programs.
Again, I was on mute. Yeah, I like the concept of IKS that you mentioned. I think that seems to be very interesting. We're almost running out of time, so let me see if there is any other question from the audience. Otherwise, I always keep the last question. So, any question from anybody? All right. Well, let me ask a question. You touched upon education just now, and so I had a question related to that. And again, in your presentation, you touched upon, when you're talking about AI, and you mentioned about ChatGPT. And I was wondering, there's a lot of debate all over the world about the use of ChatGPT and such AI applications in education. And what are some of the thoughts in India that's around those? I don't want to put it on NICMAR. I want to just have a general sense of that, or your own perspective of that.
Right. Yeah, no, interesting though. And it has been coming up and again in leadership talks, where I normally get invited talking about the use of generative AI and the impact on that. And there are both facets of generative AI, ChatGPT, where there are benefits. So, for example, lots of coding and all that can happen with a command, and lots of ease of working and operation in Excel or PowerPoint with an embedded AI features in there can automate lots of tasks. And I have seen that, and I myself have registered onto one of the online program where somebody was talking about the use of Excel with the AI, embedded AI into an Excel. So it was very, very interesting. And with a click of a command, if you have got so many spreadsheet, the index page can come, and you have to just add one add-on and click that, and so it makes the life easier. But the judicious use of AI and the use where it can be mainstreamed, it's a task and a responsibility of education institutions like us. There will be always misuse of that, where a straight answer or something like that can be devised. But obviously, in education institution, Turnitin has got now AI feature built in there to detect that what kind of plagiarism is there by AI. So always technology comes and there are catch-ups with that, fixes are done, but I'm sure there are a lot of positive benefits. In architecture, I was just talking, very interesting discussion in one of the platform, was that will we need an architect if, say, for example, if we can, give a command to generative AI that, can you design a kitchen for a room of 12 feet by 10 feet, and you get few iteration and you can change this, and so whether role of an architect or an interior designer or something like that can be replaced by that. Answer is that possibly yes, but who actually then build those algorithms? It is that architect who builds that algorithm. So we have to shift our way of teaching in such a way that in architecture school, we teach not to draw the lines, but to have a logic built into the computer system, so that generative AI, human brain always thinks more than a computer brain. So you can bring more and more variation and more innovation into those things, which can be obviously, you can take help of generative AI to produce the output very quickly. You don't have to sit on CAD to draw overnight or few days, etc. It can be done in 5 minutes or 10 minutes time. There are new ways that how we can use generative AI into education, and particularly in built environment, there is a lot of opportunity, and I think task can be automated by judicious use of some of these algorithms.
Yeah, I think very well stated. And of course, there are also IP issues that come up, when we talk about whether architecture or art or music or any of the things. But that topic in itself can take hours of discussion back and forth. So I want to thank you very much again for a very interesting seminar and a ton of questions that followed. So I truly appreciate you taking time. I know it's late in night for you in India, but thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Jain, for your help as well. You have been very patient and kind and corresponding with us in organizing this seminar. So thank you all very much. And our audience, thank you for joining. Please give Professor Kashyap a big round of applause.